Much like Carroll Shelby did for the Ford Mustang, John Cooper did for the Mini brand. He would take Minis and make them race and track ready, which is why his name is still affixed to the fastest Mini Coopers you can buy today. I'm Jared here with CarBuzz.com, and today I'm going to be taking you through this, the 2020 Mini Clubman JCW. That stands for John Cooper Works. The John Cooper Works models are the fastest you can buy in the Mini range. They make John Cooper Works versions of every model they make, but the Clubman along with the SUV Countryman have both been updated for the 2020 model year. You can see we've got this new front fascia, we've got these new LED headlights, some new wheels, and most importantly, an all-new engine under the hood, but more on that later. The Clubman is the middle range of Mini. You've got the two-door hardtop, then you can also get a four-door hardtop. This Clubman sits a little bit bigger than that, and then you have the Countryman, which is the SUV. They no longer build the Paceman. So let's go ahead and get this out on the road, but before we do, be sure to click the link in the description below to get the best deal on the Mini Clubman over at CarBuzz.com. Alright, so although this is pretty cool looking on the outside compared to a regular Mini, the real reason why you're going to buy the John Cooper Works is because of how it drives. Now let's talk about the big elephant under the hood. The 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder puts out 301 horsepower, 332 foot-pounds of torque, which is a ton. Goes out to all-wheel drive now, because front-wheel drive with this amount of power would just be absolutely bonkers. So we're talking Golf R level power, we're talking Honda Civic Type R level power in this Mini. That's the type of level you have to start thinking about now. Huge upgrade over the last John Cooper Works, which only produced 228 horsepower. So that's a huge jump in power. But along with that power jump comes a sacrifice. The only transmission is this 8-speed automatic. There is no more manual on the JCW versions of the Clubman and the Countryman. Now Mini tells me you'll still be able to buy the Cooper in John Cooper Works trim, and that'll still have 228 horsepower, and you can get a manual on that, but this Clubman and Countryman, man, automatic only. So how does that stack up? Well, if I'm being honest, not well compared to the manual, because Mini's manual transmission was absolutely one of my favorites. I adored driving a John Cooper Works car with the manual transmission. Now this automatic is not bad, works really well. I'm gonna go ahead and floor it. Hear how quick those shifts are. This is an ASIN unit, which is Toyota built. Not quite as good as the ZF unit that BMW uses on its rear-wheel drive models, but it shifts really quick. The paddles are very easily accessible. They're plastic, they don't feel quite that nice, but at this price point, I guess I would have maybe liked like a nice soft leather or something on the paddle shifters, but I at least like the way the size and feel of them. I'm gonna go ahead and put us in sport mode, and let's give it some beans. All-wheel drive gets this thing out of the hole so quick. Woo-wee! Sounds great. It makes all the turbo crackles and pops that you'd want. It's great in manual mode. I've driven a lot of automatic hatchbacks with dual clutches where I've just decided to leave it in automatic mode because it shifts so quickly on its own anyway. But in this Mini, I actually love shifting it myself. I love the noise it makes as I've got this moronic driver in front of me. So we've got to pull out quickly now. First gear, a little bit of turbo lag, but then it kicks in. Oh man, this person is really not letting me by. There we go. Yeah, you honk at me. I'm in a Mini Cooper, I'm faster than you. So I got past him real quick in this car, 8-speed, and now if I'm done driving like a hooligan, I can go back into what they call mid mode. That's for balanced driving, and it is quite quiet in here. It's a lot quieter and a lot softer than something like my Fiesta ST, and I compare Minis to my Fiesta a lot because I think these are among the few cars, along with the Hyundai Veloster, that still offer that fun, giddy driving experience, but this definitely does it at a more premium, feel with a lot more comfort. If I go ahead and now put it into its green, its eco mode, now it gets even quieter and I can barely hear the engine. If I go ahead and put my foot down, it doesn't really want to shift down gears. It is giving me some acceleration, but it's doing it in a way that is unobtrusive. So the ride comfort is really good. This JCW model does have sportier seats than what you'll find in a normal Mini Cooper. The ones that we're driving have this sort of Alcantara surface on them, and you can see right here there's some cloth as well. I prefer, there's a little bit of leather too, but I prefer these to full leather seats because they're just more breathable. And they did have a Countryman John Cooper Works at the event that I'm attending as well, and that had a full cloth interior, which I think that's the one I would opt for if you can get that on the Clubman instead of this Alcantara. The Alcantara feels really nice and you might like it, but the cloth feels really expensive as well. And everything else just feels nice and premium in here as well. So now that we're done driving it, let me go ahead and show you the cockpit of the Clubman JCW. Now that we've driven the Mini Cooper Clubman, let's go ahead and check out the interior, where the Mini brand has always been sort of tangential to BMW, but a little bit below. So they are considered a mainstream brand, at least in my eyes, but they do have some luxury touch and tactile feel. This steering wheel, for example, is really, really nice leather. The paddle shifters are plastic, but they do feel really big. I like how large they are. You don't get the speedometer in the deep dish circle here like you used to get. It is up here along with the tachometer, and sort of like how Mazda used to do it, you do get a pop-up screen. I think Mini, their execution of it, it's a little bit difficult to show on camera, but you do get your tachometer, speedometer, speed limit readouts, and you do get a readout of your RPMs here as well with this cool light. That I do really like. Here we have a sort of pared down version of BMW's iDrive. Mini has their own name for it, but it is now actually a touchscreen now. I actually wasn't expecting that when I touched it, but it didn't used to be touchscreen, so it's a little bit small and it's a little bit awkward that it's in this round ring, but it is very cool stylistically. I love these toggle switches down here. This is the stop start in red. To put it in sport mode, you go up for sport, down back into mid, or down into green. We only have an automatic transmission. I know, it's a little bit sad. It's a pretty good one. It's an ASIN transmission, which is actually the same transmission used in a lot of Toyota products. Toyota actually makes those. It's really similar to a BMW shifter. Push P for park, forward for reverse, down into drive, and of course you do get a really nice backup camera with trajectory when you do put it in reverse. And all of this, in addition to the touchscreen, can be controlled on a little controller down here that is very similar to iDrive. We've got a couple more controls up here. We do have a sunroof up here and then another one in the back, but let's go ahead and check out that back seat. Part of the reason you buy a Clubman over a four-door Cooper is you do get a little bit of extra legroom. I have this nice glass roof with a sliding panel. It's kind of split down the middle, so I have one moonroof in the front, one in the back. Nice legroom back here. It's a lot more than what you'd get in like a Fiesta ST or a Focus ST, but I don't think it's quite as large back here as a Golf GTI, which is a key competitor along with the Golf R. Out back is where the Mini Clubman gets real weird. Mini told me that they've tried a bunch of different concepts before this car came out, of like an opening glass hatch and some other weird ways to open this tailgate, but they ended up going for these double doors. So if I come over here, you have to open up this side first. It's sort of like your refrigerator, so this side opens here, and even if I don't do anything, it'll just kind of open on itself. It has struts, and since it's not opening up, they're very powerful and they eject out. We've got some decent storage space back here. I have enough for my backpack, but of course you can fold down these rear seats and get a lot more. This is more practical than a four-door, but the Countryman is still going to be more practical than the Clubman. And when you're driving this car, as I mentioned behind the road, there is a noticeable gap here. So when you look out your rearview mirror, you are going to see a large black pillar. Bit awkward at first. You might get used to it over time, but it was a little bit disconcerting for me. Now let's go ahead and price out our Clubman John Cooper Works, the most expensive of the Clubman models. The John Cooper Works Clubman is the most expensive Clubman you can buy. Retails at $39,400. That is a lot of money considering my Fiesta ST retailed for about half that, although it didn't include nearly as much power as this. This is Civic Type R level power we're talking here, and this is a little bit more luxurious car than a lot of the other hot hatchbacks on the market. But to get the way that you have seen it here today, it is a lot more than $39,000. We've got a driver assistance package that's pretty affordable with park distance control, active cruise control, and parking assistant. $850. I highly recommend that. Now we've got this iconic trim package. That's $7 grand. That is incredibly expensive. Gets you a lot of stuff though. Alarm system, universal garage door opener, panoramic moonroof, automatic dimming mirrors, automatic dimming rear view mirror. You get the 40-20-40 split folding rear seat. You get Sirius XM with a year of subscription. You get the Harman Kardon radio, the mini head-up display, which is pretty cool, and you get additional interior chrome, and you also get touchscreen navigation with Apple CarPlay compatibility, wireless charging, and obviously built-in navigation. $7 grand is a whole lot, but with all of that, that's going to push the price up to $48,100. Now, if you have to ask me, just get that driver assistance package. I think that's pretty cheap. Might as well go for that. You'll be a tad over $40,000, but paying nearly $50,000 for a Mini Cooper is just insane in my mind. Skip the iconic trim package and just get a base model. So even though I've only shown you the John Cooper Works, I wanted to just talk a little bit as we wrap up about the lesser Mini models and start talking about the Mini range, because it's really important. These are not inexpensive cars, but I do think they feel premium enough inside to justify their cost. As a Fiesta ST owner, my interior is not that great, and sometimes I wish I could have the same driving experience but with a more luxurious cabin. That's what I think these Mini cars are going to do. It's for that Fiesta ST owner or that GTI owner or that WRX owner that has a little bit more money but doesn't want the snobbiness or the insane cost of like a BMW or a Mercedes or an Audi. Now the Clubman is a weird car. It's only a little bit bigger than the four-door Cooper, but you have those weird doors that give you a little bit more space, but you do get that weird pillar in between that does hinder your blind spot a whole lot, which is kind of weird. But this and the Countryman are going to be the only ways you can get this 301 horsepower motor until the Mini Cooper GP comes out. That's going to have this amazing engine and transmission combination in a much smaller package, but it's going to be extremely limited, and I'm sure it's not going to ride as comfortably as this. Now, I've also had the chance to drive the Countryman and Clubman S. Now, those have a lot less power than this, but they have a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which is pretty cool, and you can get a manual. Now, I've driven a bunch of manual Mini cars, and I'm a bit sad to say that these John Cooper Works don't have the manual. This 8-speed is really fun, and trust me, you're still gonna have a really fun time with this. Those paddles are quick and all that jazz, and the all-wheel drive makes it really good at handling, but I kind of miss the front-wheel drive model, and if you could deal without the size, I think I would still get a 2-door Cooper with a manual in the John Cooper Works trim, even though you're going to get front-wheel drive and it's not going to have nearly 300 horsepower. It's only going to be at that 228 number. It's still the one I'd get, but if you need that upsized vehicle, the Clubman and the Countryman make a compelling case for themselves. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.